This is the first Christmas with President Biden in office, and we're feeling the effects, to say the least, in just a few short months. Everything has become more expensive. Think about your gas bill, how much you're paying for food, cars, whether they're used or new, if you can get them, utilities, electricity, coal. I mean, as the winter kicks in, my gosh, Lindsay, it's becoming much more expensive. The Christmas season, already expensive for so many because you got to get gifts for your loved ones, your friends, your coworkers, just got a lot more expensive in all of those things. It's unbelievable. It may be too late to put this under the tree, but our next guest was kind enough to share the exclusive copy he received of President Biden's new Christmas album that features 11 tracks that are sure to take your tax dollars, give you higher prices at the pump, and make you mask up for the rest of your life. Here to discuss, Montana Senator Steve Daines. Senator, thanks for being here. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
Well, I understand you've got an exclusive copy. I don't know how you got this, but it's nice in a bipartisan way that you're sharing this exclusive copy of Joe Biden's Christmas album. I want to start with the first track off this album that I'm sure is about to make its way up the Billboard 100. It's called All I Want for Christmas Are Your Tax Dollars. But in all seriousness, I mean, you think about it, Biden promised zero taxes on the middle class. But, you know, we're seeing time and time again, whether it's inflation or different ways that this Build Back Better is going to hit us, we are all going to pay for it.
Well, it's just a great, big, huge, reckless tax and spending spree. And it's what the Democrats do best. It's about $400 billion of tax increases that are inside this bill they're trying to get jammed through Congress.
We talk about that, Senator. I think next on this album is Let Us Spend, Spend, Spend. But in all seriousness, it seems like Democrats' perspective is that more spending is actually going to bring down inflation. So is it?
Well, this is fiscal madness. It's absolutely insanity. This great big bill that Biden's trying to jam through Congress, it actually is going to cost $5 trillion. It's going to add $3 trillion to our national debt at a time they're trying to raise the debt ceiling by another $2.5 trillion. These are numbers we've never, ever seen before. So I thought to put that song, that Let Us Spend, Let Us Spend, Let Us Spend, I think Joe Biden, at least he's got situational self-awareness.
All right, well, next, going down the album cover there, we have Where Are You, Kamala Harris. And, I mean, I assume that song, I haven't heard it. I'm waiting for you to share a copy of the track with me. But I assume this has to do with Kamala Harris not going to the border. It's been, 265-plus days since becoming the border czar. The only trip she kind of made was 800 miles away from where the crisis was. But the thing that I find funny about this, not just the name of the song, obviously, is that Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, last week said that she was still in charge of the border, and there's nothing. Well, let me play you for what she had to say about that.
Is Vice President Harris still in charge of addressing the root causes of migration from El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala?
She is, and I just announced a commitment that she's announcing this afternoon.
So then why is it that she has not spoken to the president of Guatemala since June? That's 6 months.
Well, I know that I did see this kind of strange report from the president of Guatemala saying that he has had no contact with the White House, which is inaccurate.
He didn't say why. He said Vice President Harris. He has not spoken to her. And if she's in charge, why is that?
Well, we have had a range of conversations, Peter, I think as reflected in our readout we put out last week.
Senator Daines, all smugness aside from Jen Psaki, I mean, the reality is that Kamala Harris, she didn't want to take responsibility for the border. She started talking, it's just the root causes. Okay, well, if the root cause is Guatemala and you haven't talked to that president, I don't see how, you still aren't doing your job, no matter how you slice it. The vice president isn't taking responsibility or doing any of the basics.
Look, I spoke face-to-face with the president of Guatemala this month. It's not that difficult. That's why we call this the border edition of that song for Kamala Harris. I'll tell you who's in charge of the southern border. It's the Mexican cartels. That's who's in charge of the southern border. And that's why Kamala Harris is trying to stay thousands of miles away from it.
I know that many people are worried about that. You know, we obviously talk about open borders, but what it brings in is a lot of the concern as well there, Senator. Next on your list, it's beginning to look a lot like communist China. Also a concern, a recent poll that came out last week shows that 4 in 10 Latino voters are actually afraid that this country is turning into a socialist country and going the wrong way. How do we flip this thing around? How do we get back on the right track here?
Well, I'll tell you what, those Latino voters have got it right, and that's why we're seeing a shift of Hispanic voters moving towards the Republicans. They're very patriotic, they're pro-family, they're pro-faith, they want to see limited government, they want to see taxes low, they want to see inflation low, and everything the Democrats are doing are contrary to that. And that's why we're seeing these Latino voters coming to the Republican Party in droves. It's got the Democrats really worried. But, you know, what's happening right now with the raising of taxes, raising of spending, higher inflation, President Biden stopping Made in America energy, I'll tell you what, who's cheering? It's communist China. And that's why this song's appropriate. It's beginning to look a lot like communist China.
Hey, Senator, before I let you go, when you put this out, I know it was in jest to have some fun, to get some attention to these really important issues, frankly, but I keep thinking of the Let's Go Brandon chant, right? And it turned into not just a movement almost, but this massive merchandise opportunity where everybody's printing everything from Let's Go Brandon T-shirts to sweatshirts to there's pretty much everything now, wrapping paper. Did you and your staff ever give any credence to doing something with this from a merchandise standpoint?
No, we didn't. I'll tell you that these Christmas carols were completely developed, and was the innovation of my team. We sent out an email to my team across Montana and my team here in D.C. This is what they came up with. It only took them about 30 minutes, and we had this CD produced.
Well, I think, number one, you could probably have a second edition real quick. Number two, I do think it's a great merchandise idea. So if you can, I would trademark it, or somebody named Spicer may just take it and make some money off of it. Senator Daines, thank you for being with us. I wish you, your family, and all the folks in Montana and around the country a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you, Sean.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.